Got a good thing coming, and it's all I need. Everything I wanted is in front of me. Stuck it up.
Welcome everybody to another episode on the Coaching Corner with myself, Nancy, and my amazing co-host, Janine. Good morning, Janine.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, everyone.
And today's topic?
So today we're talking about the internal versus the external locus of control. So maybe you've never heard that term before, maybe you have. Locus comes from the Latin word, and it just means the location, the place of control. So is your belief in your head that the control you have over your life internal, like it's governed by you, or external, governed by external factors? Yeah.
So this concept was developed by Julian Rota in the 1950s, I believe, and it was actually very powerful back then because they discovered something completely different. And it's what I would say is easy to grasp the concept, but perhaps a little bit challenging to action it out. Yeah.
Yeah. So Nancy was saying it's one of the most powerful psychological concepts.
Yes.
And it is very powerful if you think about the areas of your life, whether it's your success in your life, whether it's at home with your relationships or in your workplace, if it's about the health of your body, the health of your mind, the degree of your emotional regulation or dysregulation, it will change significantly if you believe you're in charge of it versus if you believe you've got no control whatsoever over it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just wanted to say that the one thing I really like, so we're referring to some notes here, is that if you can think about the difference between people who speak in the terms and they say, oh, I'm so stuck, or they're highly reactive. So the smallest thing offends them and they react and they get very triggered easily. These people are behaving in this way because they themselves feel that they're powerless and something's happened on the outside and affected them. This happened to me. She said that, to me, look what she made me do, kind of thing. But people who are quite peaceful and have got a relatively good level of control over their destiny and feel empowered, that's because they believe that the control they have of their life is within them, is inside them. So that's just basically top of the waves there. But you can tell immediately, just from those two examples, how significant the change is in a person's life when our belief is determined by whether it's inside or outside. So, Nancy, you were saying that that this belief system of your internal versus external, it influences so many areas of your life.
Yeah, so the internal locus of control and the external, this belief system influences your relationships, how you heal, your success, confidence, emotional resilience, so your EQ, everything, really. So it's just about everything in your life. And it's a belief, so of course it's going to affect just about everything in your life. Excuse me. So it shapes everything. Now, the external locus of control, do you want to explain that? Because I believe personally, in my opinion, I'm going to say it's my opinion, but there is some research that's been out that they're doing and that's been out now that majority of people do run on an external locus of control.
Yeah.
We see the world that we're in and we can kind of see that pattern happening. Do you want to explain what?
Yeah, so I'll list some things. This is when you believe that your outcomes in your life are determined by other people, outside circumstances, just luck, good luck or bad luck. Maybe the way your business is going or your financials are going is because of the economy. That's, again, outside of you. Maybe you just are the way that you are because of your past or because of your parents, and, well, that's just the way it is. Or maybe you feel that you are the way you are, or your situation that you're in today is determined by the trauma that you had as a child, so this thing has just affected you now. Or where you are right now is just because of fate. Well, maybe you want to give some verbatims, Nancy. We have some of how people speak, the language they use when they've got this external locus of control. So everything's happening outside of you, okay? You're not in control here. You're like the victim. Yeah, go.
Something like life is unfair, this always happens to me, I can't change, they made me feel this way is a really popular one. So those that language.
Life is unfair.
Yeah, that blame. John Maxwell calls it blame storming, really. Yeah. So everything is what's on the outside, not what's happening on the inside. So not addressing it as you. What's happening to you,
Absolutely. And when you do this, you understand that you give all your power away. Because if everything's happening to you, you don't have any power. You are going to be at the receiving end. It's like, always say, like a whip. A whip's held in the hand. And when you go like that, the end of that whip is going to go wherever it's going to go because of what the hand did. So that's kind of the external. You're at the end of that whip and you're just getting this experience. So people often feel helpless. They've definitely got way more anxiety because they're not in control of what's happening. So they're
Absolutely.
afraid of everything outside. They're always, what's going to happen to me next kind of thing. We mentioned emotional reactivity and this feeling of being stuck. And often people who have this external locus of control quite high are trapped in like circles, like loops of being stuck.
Yeah.
And it says here in our notes, because if power is outside of you, you must wait for something outside of you to change. Otherwise, you stay stuck.
Correct. So you're actually trapped. It becomes a form of like you're losing your power, you're trapped, you can only run on like reactive to certain things. So if this works out for me on the outside, then I'm okay. You know what I mean? So you really are relinquishing all your power to the outside world. And if you can see what's happening in the world today, you don't want to be doing that. You want to be reclaiming and consciously going within to get your power. Yeah.
So the thing I find interesting before we go on to the internal one is, which we don't know, we haven't done the research and we couldn't say it on the show, but how it's developed, and obviously in childhood, because this internal versus external, as we said, is a belief. And if you think about, you were saying that the majority of the world has an external locus of control, and
Correct,
they keep blaming the economy.
That's my opinion.
And the government. It must be learned, or learned from modeling, watching parents, or school.
Fear-based.
Yeah, and you just think about children. How many parents, I know they don't mean any harm, and it's just a silly example, but it is a good example. When a child bumps into a table and hurts themselves and cry, the parents often go, oh, naughty table, and they smack the table. Well, what are you teaching your child in that moment? It's the table's fault. But the child walked into the table. So if you didn't do any of that, they'd probably work out that they walked into the table and they didn't make the right moves. But that small example is just saying, oh, it's the table's fault.
Yeah.
It's a silly one.
It's just all awareness. I'd have to say that even as little kids, our parents this goes back to Heal Your Life. Our parents just taught us from their level of awareness and their parents from their level of awareness. So unless you had really aware grandparents and great-grandparents, you'd have no awareness. So this is something that you can learn, and it is easy. Like what we're telling you now is really just, you don't need an MBA or any other major. Sorry, we were laughing about this earlier on. You don't need 5 degrees or an MBA to learn this. You can actually learn it. It's easy. It's just applying it, and that's what you've got to do. That's the most important thing, is applying it, and it is challenging. Yeah.
So now we're going to go from the external, which we've explained, to the internal. So maybe, Nancy, you want to explain that?
All right, I'm just going to put my glasses on because I'm getting nice and old, and I appreciate that. All right, so internal locus of control. Your life is created by your choices, your beliefs, responses, your actions, and, of course, the big thing, your mindset. So that is really important. I think that's just really, your beliefs come from what you think. So really, in a nutshell, if you're thinking doom and gloom, you're going to get doom and gloom, and we've spoken about this in the past. If you're thinking, I can do this, or somehow, some way, I'll find a way to do this, then you are empowering yourself. So mindset is really, really important. Now, it doesn't mean you can control everything that happens. Can I just tell you, life is difficult. We've done a show on that. You can go have a look at that as well on our YouTube page. It means you control who you become in response to it. That's the key word. Who do you become when this happens? Are you a raging person when things go out of hand, or are you calm and centered? That too takes awareness. I'm going to speak for myself. I'm still learning in that department. I'm learning quite a bit about my own triggers. So if you feel like sometimes you need to you lose control, maybe you have a temper or you're a little bit angry, the awareness that you've got that is the most important thing. What do I still need to work on? So your internal locus of language sounds like I just said, I can learn from this, or I choose how I respond. That's really important. I'm responsible for my healing, empowering. I create my future, empowering again. And I have the power to change. So most women or men or children that have this internal locus of control are very confident. They come across as, they're emotionally stable, they've got greater success. What else? They're greater peace.
If I can talk about
yeah.
healing, one of the biggest differences between people who actually have the ability to heal themselves and people who've always got health issues and are victims of these health issues, and I got this and I got that, and they name all the different ailments, is definitely this internal versus external locus of control. And, if you think of Dr. Joe Dispenza, when he was told by 4 different orthopedic surgeons if he doesn't have the Harrington rod surgery after crushing his spine, was hit by a big 4x4 on his bicycle, excuse me. And after being told 4 times, if you don't have the surgery, the Harrington rod surgery, you're going to be paralyzed. Now, when you get 4 diagnoses from a professional who speaks with a significant level of authority, you believe that, don't you? And there was Dr. Joe Dispenza, whose intuition whispered in his ear, the power that creates the body heals the body. And he had a different belief. And he thought, if I can use my mind and focus on visualizing my healing, I can allow this power that creates the body to heal the body. And his story is that, called the dark night of the soul. He sat there for 3 weeks, and every time he had a negative thought come in his head, it was like, you're so stupid, what are you doing this visualizing? You should land up in a wheelchair. Then you'd visualize again, and as he's getting it just right, this negative thought would come, you're an idiot, you land up in a wheelchair. And then one day, after about 3 weeks, he was able to sustain his visualizing with no negative thought. And after a couple of hours, he felt this like electricity, this like surge of energy up his spine, and he knew in that moment he was spontaneously healing. Now, if you think about healing, if you got a diagnosis from one orthopedic surgeon that you're going to be paralyzed without the surgery, let alone 2, I'm sure you or maybe I would go and have that surgery. What level of internal locus of control did Dr. Joe Dispenza have to dismiss 4 opinions and still do it? And he was actually back on his bike in 12 weeks, whereas if he had had the surgery, he wouldn't have been allowed to be on his bike for a year.
Yeah, it was quite challenging for him.
So he healed like how many thousands of times faster? Unbelievable. So when it comes to health and healing, it is massive. And people who have an strong internal locus of control are not waiting for anyone to come along and save them. They know that they take the action, they make the choices. It's all about choices, and that you are the creator of your own life. And I think in the Silver Method, which I train, the whole course is premised that, in fact, the tagline of the Silver Method says, create the life of your own design, knowing that our thoughts mixed with emotions are the preview to life's forthcoming attractions. And people who don't believe that, don't visualize, they aren't careful with their words. They say, oh, I can't do this and I can't do that. And in the Silver Method, we learn about language is so important. And how we speak. If you said, I can do this, somehow, somewhere I can learn to do this, it's a completely different outcome. The brain actually stops thinking when you say, I can't. So there's a whole list of words and phrases which you must be aware of. All right, so we spoke a bit about healing there. Something that you wanted to add, Nance?
I just think that taking responsibility and knowing that you have the power within to change these things is incredibly, I find it like, I know I'm going to say it sounds weird, empowering, because that's pretty powerful to be empowered. It's also knowing that you yourself can at any time change. It's like if you can flick a switch. It's not rocket
Yeah.
science. You can wake up one morning and say, I refuse to live my life this way, or
Yeah, can I tell you a story?
I demand to make a change in my life and actually do it. It's like so simple. That's why I said it's easy,
But it's not.
but it's not. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, tell
I
us.
just remember in 2008, my mother was diagnosed with breast cancer, and she was told to have a double mastectomy. And she was going to have, after the surgery, chemo for sure and radiation. And in that moment, she's very strong internally, my mother, and she just made a decision there and then and said, I'm happy to have the cancer removed, remove all my breasts because there's tissue there and you never know if it comes back. I think doctor just removes the possibility. But she refused the chemo and the radiation, and she said, I know how I created this. And the minute she took responsibility, which is a hard thing for people to hear sometimes
Or accept.
or accept, but she became powerful and she didn't have anything. And this is how many years ago, 2008. It's never come back, and my mother smokes.
Yeah.
So people
So she
say,
took her power back.
yeah, so she knew that she created it by not getting things off her chest, which is actually in You Can Heal Your Life book, suppressed anger. And it's just, when you have a health issue, if you just think about yourself in your own life, when have you been sick and you've just given up and lay there and said, well, this is happening to me, and it kind of take quite a while to get better? Or have you had ever a shift in your health and said, I'm going to heal myself and I want to be better by Tuesday? And when you've got this adamant decision, you want to be, maybe you're going somewhere on Tuesday, maybe there's something fun you want to attend, so you've got to be better to go. You heal.
Yeah.
So it doesn't take rocket science to know that healing is significant when it comes to this. Yeah. And being also I think I want to just mention that when it comes to healing, people stay connected to blame, they stay sick, or the past, or identifying with genetic disorders. I'm going to be very challenged on this. You might not like what I'm saying, but if you don't think that I'm correct saying genetic disorders are real, no, there's something called epigenetics, and the biology of belief by Dr. Bruce Lipton was the first uncovering of that, and now thousands of people know it, but it's still not in universities for medical students, so your doctor won't talk about Dr. Bruce Lipton or epigenetics. But basically it says you might have a precursor, which is genetic, but you cannot manifest that illness without your own emotional root cause. So we're not victims to even our genes. We are not victims to our genes. I'll say that 10 times if you don't. It's not my opinion. This comes from Dr. Bruce Lipton and epigenetics. And then people are challenged by this and they say, I don't believe that. You just told me correctly. You don't believe that. And that's why internal versus external locus of control is a belief. A belief. It's not, they say whether you believe you can or you believe you can't, either way you'll be right. That's exactly what this whole point is that this belief you actually can shift.
I think when you grab the opportunity to think about how am I thinking, and most people don't. They don't really run on mindfulness. They don't turn around and sort of are consciously saying, okay, what's just happened now? What am I going to say? That we don't think that way. We're not wired to think that way. We generally are looking to respond in our mind, even while the person is talking. We're already programming what we're going to say next, right?
Yes.
So we're not consciously aware majority of the time. We're not mindful. But if you just stopped and thought, which is something that I've been practicing, I live in a house with lots of kids, so it can be quite challenging. But just stop and think, in this situation, if I'm feeling hurt or triggered, what's going on with me? This is where you take your power. This is where you say, how do I learn to go internal? This is how you start. You observe and you're aware. What's going on with me? And Louise Hay, the pioneer of self-love, really, 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 really said it correctly when she said, self-love is the foundation for everything, because you absolutely can heal any wound with self-love. So if you're feeling like, why am I triggered? then that's an opportunity for you to get to the root of the problem and say, what's going on for me right now? Why am I feeling angry? I mean, I say that so often. I mean, how many times, Jade, have I said that to you? I questioned myself the other day. Why am I feeling angry, right?
Yeah.
So there's an opportunity there to begin the sort of the cogwheel. Start thinking, I'm triggered today. That's why I said to you, an internal, we spoke about it before, internal person like Locus, let's start again, cancel. And person who has an internal locus of control can't stop everything that's happening outside, but can actually have control on how they think about it, right? So that's...
Or how they respond from
how they respond
from
to
their
it.
inside.
Absolutely.
I just want to share something interesting. This amazing book, You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay. If you haven't read it, I really encourage you to read it. Now, I never read this book back in 1999, going all the way back there. But I just want to tell you a very quick story. I was studying and I had to do a dissertation, and I was very under the pump in my corporate career. I was extremely stretched. I actually worked in retail, and you work weekends, 2 minimum times a month, often 3, with only 1 weekend a month off. So it's really quite taxing. And I didn't know how I was going to finish my degree, because I didn't know how I was going to finish my dissertation, which is this assignment, writing this research, big piece of over 100 pages, and all the research required was like... But in the back of my mind, I kept thinking, I wish I could just get time off. I just could get like a month or 2 off just to do my dissertation. It was in the back of my mind. And then I went to my best friend's birthday party, and on the way home, we were all driving in convoy because we were going somewhere for an after party or something. And I stopped at the traffic light, and the next thing I'm rear-ended by my friend behind me. He's driving with my mother. Nothing too serious, but when I went to the hospital just to check, if I needed anything for whiplash, whatever, they then tell me that I've actually got a compression fracture on my T12 vertebra. I must now be on a spinal board. They're going to take me by ambulance the next day to another big major hospital, and I'm going to have a body brace, custom made when they mold it around you and all this, and I'm going to be booked off for 8 weeks. Now, I was very full of fun, and I'm still am to this day, but when I was 29 years old, I kept thinking, I actually knew that I actually manifested this diagnosis, and I thought, there's nothing wrong with me. I didn't even have any pain. I really didn't. So when they pushed me into the x-ray room, the guy left the room to go get some equipment or something. I was alone in there, and I had my glasses, and I wanted to put them down, and I got up off the spinal board, and I'm bending down across the thing to stretch over for a table to put my glasses down, and he came and said, what are you doing? What are you doing? Lie down, you can become paralyzed. I'm thinking, oh, please, I'm not going to become paralyzed. He said, do you understand the severity of the situation? I'm going in my head, oh, please, I'm rolling my eyes, this is not so serious. And then I didn't listen. And then, anyway, I laid down, had my x-rays. Then I got wheeled out, and then I tell my friend who's waiting for me, I need to go and pee. And I lifted the blanket, and I was just about to get up again. And then the other nurse came running. What are you doing? What are you doing? Lie down. I'm thinking, they're making such a palaver over nothing. I just want to go and pee. And then she says to me, do you understand you've got a compression fracture, and if anything happens, you can sever the spinal cord, or I don't know what she said, and become paralyzed. I thought, it may be possible, but there's no way I'm going to be paralyzed, okay? Anyway, I did become a bit more obedient. I was a little bit rebellious.
A little bit?
Yeah. But the point is, I believe there is no way on earth I am ever going to become paralyzed. And I said to myself in that moment, there is no way on earth I'm ever even going to have back problems. I don't have back problems. I've never had back problems. But when I read this book all the years later, it says in here, accidents or a break of any kind is when you need a break. So we manifest everything. And I know it offends people. I've got a note here that says, I'm responsible for my healing, not because it was my fault, but because it is my power. So everything that you manifest, every illness comes from your subconscious. You might not be aware that you want a break, and next thing you've got a broken arm. I had a guy that I knew who broke both elbows, and he wanted a break. He said, the minute he heard from this book, the cause, he said, yep, I've wanted a break because I actually can't work. I'm in IT, and if both my elbows are broken, I can't work. So just not to say anyone, don't feel like we're saying it's your fault. No one wants to create illness in their body. But if you read this book, Louise Hay is 150%, if there is such a thing, about the internal locus of control. That's why it says you can heal your life. And there's a body dictionary in here, and every single ailment has got an affirmation to heal because you have the power, and that's so important. Once we know that, our health changes dramatically. Yeah.
We love Louise, as you can tell. So what's great about what we just spoke about now is you do have the power to change with awareness. Cannot do it without. So we start off with awareness and really monitor and manage what we're thinking about. What are we really thinking about in this moment? Because once you start going down the hole of negative mindset, it doesn't go too far before you really start taking on a belief. How many seconds is it? What did they say? Abraham Hicks?
17 seconds, you have the same thought again.
Correct. So no one, and I mean no one, can create your emotions, okay? They only trigger what's inside of us. So hence the reason why Louise Hay's work is just incredibly important in realizing that what I'm feeling right now, I've created emotionally, from an emotional perspective, okay? You've got to realize it comes from inside of you. As Wayne Dyer says in one of his live workshops, he refers to an orange. If you squeeze an orange, what comes out of it?
Orange juice.
Right. Not grapefruit juice, apple juice, orange juice, because that's what it's made of. That's what it's made up of. So the same concept comes in this. Whatever you get triggered by, whatever is going to come out of you is whatever you're feeling inside of you. So it's our responsibility. And it could show up every day, like, this external locus of control can show up every day in things like, they hurt me, so I can't trust anyone.
Yeah, let's slow down on that one. Talk about that one. Just say it again.
They hurt me. So again, it's outside. So I can't trust anyone.
So in other words, I can't change.
Yeah. And look, trauma happens. Emotional trauma does happen. We cannot dismiss that. Emotional trauma does happen. But again, having the awareness that I want to heal. Are you willing? Louise Hay talks about it. Mm-hmm. Are you willing? That's the key word. Are you willing? Because if you're not willing, then there's no hope. Sorry.
And Louise Hay's all for taking responsibility. And when people don't take responsibility, they can become blame stormers and victims, and it kind of gets them off the hook. So they can spend the rest of their lives complaining, but they don't have to fix anything because they're victims of a situation. And I think it is so massive to, when you say I can't trust anyone because of what they did to me, you really can't trust anyone ever again. You really can't, or you choose not to, or you won't. Rather say that. So when everyone says, I can't change, the best thing you can say back to them is, you mean you won't change? Because then they realize, I'm making this choice, and I'm not willing, as Nancy said, I'm not willing to change.
Yeah.
All righty.
So let's take some steps to shift the internal. I think I've spoken about this one quite a bit in the last 10 minutes. Awareness. Pardon me. Start noticing your language. That's all you have to do. Start noticing, what am I saying? Am I taking ownership or am I blaming? And it's just an awareness. No one's saying anything to make you feel bad or shame you. Okay, because remember how we talked about no one can make you feel your emotions? So just an awareness. What am I feeling? Where's this coming from? I ask this question all day long. If I'm triggered, where did this come from? Where is the root of it? Okay, so that's really important. Number two is
watch your language and change your language. That's why in the Silver Method, the very first exercise on the very first day is about your dialogue, outside and your internal dialogue. We all have an internal dialogue. It's how we speak to ourselves, and it is probably one of the most impactful things on our success in life, on our resilience, even our self-confidence, even how we are liked. I know this sounds crazy, but how we are liked or not liked by people is mostly our internal self-talk. So that might sound a bit harsh for some people, but when your narrative is, I'm sure that they are looking at me funny and whatever it is, you are going to manifest that. You are going to attract that into your life, because the law of attraction, it's not going to have any different rules for any different people. It's consistent across the board. So you attract what you think about, whether you want it or not. So your words in your head or your words outside are very important. And instead of saying things like, this happened to me, you say, this happened, and I choose now how to respond. If I can just tell a quick story. Years ago, about 2000, I actually had to do a profile test on the internal versus external locus of control. And I scored right up on internal locus of control. And I kind of knew that, because I did believe that if I wanted to get something, I could get it. If I did my best here, I'd probably do better than if I didn't. So I knew it was really me. If my results were good, it was me. If my results were bad, it's probably me. Not probably, was me. And I thought that the power of life is to choose. It says here, this happened and I choose how to respond. And I thought that was the power that I have. I choose how to respond. But when I saw The Secret in 2006, and Rhonda Byrne said, it's more than that. You're actually creating your life with your thoughts and your feelings. I was like, far out. Just think of the difference there. You actually create your life. So this internal locus of control has got a whole other level. It's not just how you respond to what goes on. It's the fact that you choose to believe because it's true. This is science, okay? You might not want to believe it, but like it's going to apply anyway, like the law of gravity. You don't have to believe it, it applies anyway. If you believe in the universal laws that don't change, you do create your own reality with your thoughts and with your feelings. So it takes this internal control that you have to create your life to a whole other level, knowing, hey, well, if you are the creator, maybe you want to put some time aside in the beginning of every day and be intentional about what you're going to create for that day. And that's what we call a morning routine. And that's what people use when they do some visualization in the morning, or write some affirmations in the morning, or just to do a little bit of planning and goal setting for the day. And it does change a person's results. And that's really the big difference between successful and unsuccessful people.
Okay, number 3 is take responsibility for your healing and your emotional triggers. That's really important. So you're not responsible for maybe what happened to you as a child, but you are responsible as an adult to heal, okay? Because you have awareness now, you're much older, and you can think for yourself. And of course, you know, we run the 2-day Love Yourself, Heal Your Life program where we tackle these triggers. You know, we work on the emotional triggers and we work on, you know, past emotional wounds. So that is number 3, take responsibility for your healing. And number 4?
Number 4 is very new. People are talking about it more now, but it's extremely powerful. It's to regulate your nervous system. I would actually go so far as to say many people who want to manifest better in their lives, so if that's you, if you want to manifest more money, better relationships, more success, better health, it might not be so much that you need to find another tool on how to manifest. It might be that you need to learn how to regulate your nervous system. And that means to be calm, because if your nervous system is well regulated and you are calm no matter what's going on outside of you, just like this very loud blower. You see, I'm smiling. The man with the blower smiled at me, even though we can hear him now. Anyway, so that's an example. I can't control that, and I can get all upset and triggered by it. Or you can just be become a calm person, but that's because you've trained your nervous system to become familiar with the feeling of calm. And examples here of what you could practice is things like meditation, breath work, absolutely the silver method, mirror work, which comes from Louise Hay. She's the big pioneer of mirror work. You can talk to yourself in the mirror and alleviate your fears. You can
Mirror work is phenomenal.
It's phenomenal. It's a breakthrough technique. You can actually talk yourself out of being triggered by something by talking it out in the mirror to your own eyes, to yourself. And of course, we spoke about the language in your head, affirmations. If you think, oh, I'm so scared, I'm so scared, I'm so scared, well, I can't do this, I can't do this. But how about using an empowering affirmation instead? Cancel, somehow, somewhere I can do this.
Yeah, I've done that before when we went ziplining. Oh boy, I'm not good with heights, everyone. I have such a fear. Cancel, I'm working on that. But the whole time, and we were zip lining for how long? 40 minutes, the whole time, under my breath, I was saying, I can do things through Christ who strengthens me. Now, I'm a woman of faith. That's what I said. And can I tell you, I stopped thinking about what was underneath me and just focused on where I was going. And I did it. Yeah. And I think the power of affirmations, it's very powerful. And I think visualization with affirmations is even more powerful. But what we tell ourselves, now we know, how many thoughts do we have a day?
About 70,000 thoughts a day.
How many of them are negative?
About 80 to 87% are negative, and most go undetected by the conscious mind.
Correct. So if they are negative, saying an affirmation that's positive, okay, you're overriding, okay? That's what we're saying where the power is. That's what we're saying is really important, to watch what you're saying to yourself. So if you can just affirm anything, like, I'm getting better and better at this, I can guarantee you might start off not doing something very well, but if you keep saying, I'm getting better and better at this, or somehow, some way, I'll find a way to do this, or whatever it may be, if you're learning something new, you will get good at it. You will learn it quickly. So it's quite incredible how our mind works. Now, number 5 is make empowered decisions daily. Not just empowered, but mindful and conscious decisions daily. That's really, really important. Being mindful of what's going on in your life, in all aspects, is very empowering. That's what makes you powerful, because you're mindful of what's going on. Quite often, I don't know it was you that told me, Jay, about being the observer in a situation. So seeing yourself maybe floating around. So if you've got a scenario, see yourself floating around that scenario and just observe the key players. In psychology, we do that as well. We do that in Gestalt therapy as well, where we just observe. Become the observer of your life and say, Emma, what am I observing here? And what part do I play in this?
So that's a very good point. And if you have drama in your family, why don't you just test it the next time that there's drama going on and everyone's talking at the same time and a lot of people are upset about something, or energies are rising. If you can just stop in that moment, be highly conscious and very intentional, and just observe, first of all, how am I feeling in my body? So is this making me angry or upset? And why do you have to be angry or upset? Here's that very strong internal locus of control. You can question that. Where is this anger or upset, hurt, or whatever coming from? But you just observe it, and then you step back emotionally and mentally, and you observe everyone else. And in that split second, you'll realize all these people are completely out of control. They are all being whipped around, left to right, up and down, by everything outside of them. And you could be the one who just calms all the way down and becomes highly mindful, very aware, and intentional about. And if you do have an emotion rising, it's okay. It's fine. Don't act on it though. Observe it. Let it rise, and then ask yourself, like you were saying earlier, why am I angry, or why am I hurt right now? And I can tell you with absolute certainty, it only comes like 2% from what's just happened in the room. 98% comes from a wound from your childhood that someone just poked again. So imagine if I had a terrible wound over here and I'm trying to protect it, and then Nancy comes along and she pricks that wound and I go, ouch, so sore. Like that reaction doesn't come from what Nancy just said. I had a wound first and foremost. That's where the pain comes from. I already had a wound. So if I didn't have a wound and she poked, it would just be a touch. But because I had a wound, when she touched me, it was major ouch. And that's exactly your childhood wounds. And that's why the workshop that we run, the 2-day workshop, is called Love Yourself, Heal Your Life. We then go back and we heal our inner child wounds. And it's not a very scientific or complicated thing. It's a very light, gentle, self-paced processes that we go through. And you only go where you want to go. You only go as far as you want to go. But boy, oh boy, I find You Can Heal Your Life 2-day workshop the most powerful and transformative experience I personally have ever had after all the years I've done personal development. And training the Silver Method has been an amazing experience in my life, helped me create major things. but did I change the most from healing life? Because you heal your childhood wounds, and it's just incredible what it can do for your life.
Absolutely, absolutely. So what we want to wrap up with now, because we're at the end of our podcast, is what to take away from this is that you're not powerless. You're more powerful than you, beyond measure than you're ever expected to believe. And when you take your power back, so many amazing things can happen in your life. Your confidence comes back, your peace deepens, and an internal peace, which is incredibly priceless. We are in a hectic world. Having inner peace enables you to navigate the world, and not be a slave to what's going on outside. So having inner peace is quite important. Your life transforms. You're no longer reacting to life, okay? You are creating the life of your own design. And it's so important that we believe that we are the creators, and no one can make you feel anything. So that's it from us. I think, if you have an opportunity to attend the 2-day Love Yourself, Heal Your Life workshop, by all means, wherever you are in the world or in Australia, get to a class. That's what I would love for everyone to do, is to do the 2-day workshop. And of course, Silver Method Australia is run by Janine herself, so you can come to any of our classes in Sydney. And we would love for you to understand that you are the creator of your own life. No one else and nothing else can do that for you except you.
Yeah. And remember, empowerment is not something that you learn. So you can't listen to this and learn it. It's something that you become. And the way to become that is through engaging in a process. So if you want to come to the Silver Method, I'd love to have you in the room. It's an incredibly life-changing toolbox of empowering tools to change your life. And the 2-day Louise Hay workshop is totally transformative. And it helps us really start taking control and being self-empowered for our own healing and every experience we have in our life, and our success, and our relationships, and our joy, and our peace.
Everything.
Everything. And that's it for today. So Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the podcast next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.